Hey everybody, and welcome back to another live session from Voxpo, Vape Live it is. It's our second of 3 days, and we have a lot of great content already, and we've got some really great content coming up now. My name is Patrick Griffin. I'm the editor of Vape Around magazine. With me is Jordan 50 Miller, my right-hand man. We're very pleased to have Don Thompson from the Zen Vaper. 50. What are we going to ask Don about today?
Oh, well, plenty. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Don for coming back on the platform. He always gives us incredible talks, and I'm sure this one is going to be just as great. To start with, what have you been up to? What's been going on in the world of Don?
Well, it's been an interesting summer. Trying to recover from all of the things that the U.S. government regulations have impacted us in the spring. For those who have been hiding under a rock, they passed the PACT Act in March, which really severely hampered our ability to ship anything to anyone, anywhere, be it a vape shop or a customer. So I had to shut down the e-commerce part of my website, make it like an informational only kind of a thing. Then we had to seek out alternative means to get things done. I was able to connect with one of my distributors that also has a retail website. They were able to connect with a vape freight company, which was formerly just a freight company. In other words, send a pallet from one warehouse to another. This freight company had the foresight to, buy some old postal vehicles, some Sprinter vans, and they became willing within certain regions to take even a 6x4x4 package right to a customer or to a vape shop. So they had the only requirement for my distributor was they had to ship 1,000 packages a day, which they basically got a hold of a bunch of us and said, hey, your PMTA is accepted, everything's cool with you, do you want to hop in on this and still be able to serve your retail customers? I was like, yeah, sign me up. So my retail customers can still buy my fluid. My vape shops that I deal directly with can still buy direct from me instead of having to go through a distributor and pay like a $1 or $2 more a bottle. So it's been getting used to that. It's been good and bad. I didn't realize how much time I spent as a shipping clerk until I no longer had to ship anything. Now, like behind the curtain here, I've got all these like boxes and stuff and and I don't use any of it anymore. I'm going to go rent a storeroom and slush it out of my office and kind of reclaim my office again. So it's been interesting. I've gained about probably 25 hours of my week back, which has been really nice. Like I get to work out in the morning now. I get to go to the pool in the afternoon. We belong to a local YMCA. So, I get to hang out and spend more quality time with my 7-year-old son. I get to connect with my adult children. Once again, because of the PACT Act. Thank you, U.S. government. But anyway, I mean, it was a bit of a frustration for a couple of months, March, April, beginning of May. So we kind of got our stride and kind of got back into it. So such has been my summer.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes down to the PACT Act, it's certainly been, a hit or miss thing. You've seen like these entrepreneurship come up with these freighting companies who've started being able to basically move products for companies like yourself. Obviously, it's been quite devastating and traumatic for some organizations, and I know there's large movements to have it reconsidered in general, especially with companies like FedEx and stuff. There was a petition, like 400 individual companies signed to have FedEx revoke their sort of vape mail ban as well. But it seems like you're relatively A-okay now, and you've sort of overcome that hurdle.
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of companies out there that did not have that foresight. And sadly, some of those companies are no longer with us. Man, I hate to say it, but you got to see the handwriting on the wall at one point and say, hey, what am I going to do to stay in business? Now, moreover than that, I wanted to quote something so that the world can hear this. 2 years ago, 2019, before all the PMTA shenanigans started, there was about 13,500 e-liquid makers in the United States. And that's an estimate. That's just an estimate. So with all of the government regulations, with all the stuff the FDA made us go through, that with the rest of our business, our flavors, our recipes, the whole PMTA, process, and now the PACT Act, the FDA recently published, I think in June, they published a list of people that are PMTA accepted and are allowed to remain on the market. Can either of you, well, if either of you know, don't say. Can either of you guess what that number has come down to from 13,500 to?
You're good at numbers.
Yeah, I think I have an idea, but I'm not sure if you've got anything.
Come on, Patrick, give it a go. How many are left?
250.
Whoa, that's actually a good guess. 360 actually. That was the official published list. So if you're not on that list, distributors no longer want to do business with you in the United States. If you're not on that list, a lot of vape shops don't want to do business with you, because if the FDA comes in and starts enforcing, and they're going to start enforcing, and like you're a vape shop owner and you've got like stuff on your shelves that's not on that, that's by a company that's not on that list, they start writing you fines. Like here, and the first fine is $10,000. Hello. And if you want to press the issue, if they come back a time later and they check up to see if you've removed and complied and paid your fine, and you still haven't done it, then it's another $10,000 and the possibility of 90 days in jail just for having, the wrong e-liquid on your shelf. I mean, man, like they're making it this hard for us to help people to remain non-smokers and to help people quit.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it is when push comes to shove, it's an industry that's oriented around saving lives. So it is a bit heartbreaking when certain things happen that make it difficult for companies to sort of push forward and provide that service. Obviously, the PACT Act being sort of the biggest one over in the US at the moment, or one of the biggest ones over in the US for me, and then got plenty of stuff going on in Europe as well. So it's a sort of a gloomy, but also with a few shining edges at the moment.
I think basically what everything that's gone on in the industry over the years on a global scale is that when we come up against adversity or disadvantage, we always find a way through, whether it means having to adapt or be different. But we're not just going to give up and say, we're not going to be here anymore, everyone go back to smoking, because we find a way through.
What the government doesn't realize, Patrick, is that we are a resilient bunch.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we started this thing, like I have friends that have been vaping since 2009, when vaping actually first started to happen. The guy who runs, I have two labs that make my liquid. One is he makes my stuff for like 1,500 bottles and less, and one that does 1,500 bottles and more. The guy that does the small batch orders, the guy that owns that shop has been a vapor since 2009. He's owned a vape shop since 2011. He's been in business 10 years. And he just can't believe like what's going on. Like, it's like the government is like trying to tell you, go do something else. We want all of your customers to go back to smoking because, well, the states get more of that master settlement agreement money. We talked about that at the last webinar. The states, United States get hundreds of millions of dollars based on cigarette sales the years prior. So like take Pennsylvania, for example. They're averaging right now $805 to $807 million a year. So they want as many people to quit vaping and go back to smoking as possible so they can continue to receive that money. Sadly, people are like, what this should be doing is it should be driving people from the online people that would buy just their liquid online. It should drive them back into the brick and mortar places, which is these are the folks that are like the backbone of the United States industry. These are the mom and pop shops, not the big chains, not the Wild Bills, not the Vapor Mavens. They're great. These people that have 130, 150, 200 stores. But I'm talking about the person who has one store in a strip mall somewhere, and they do about, $5,000 a month business. They are the backbone of our industry. And right now, this pinch is really hurting them. They're hard pressed to find companies that will ship them hardware, companies that will ship them e-liquid, companies that are on the list that can ship them e-liquid. I mean, it makes opportunities for us, the people that are on the list, But by the same token, these people are like struggling. They're, you know, a lot of them are like, that's it, you know. I'm not going to swear because we're in a national audience, but like, you know, F this, I'm out, you know. It's time to go do something else. Let's go open up another kind of store and something that makes it's easier to do business. It's just, it's tragic. Like, what are you going to do, right? So,
all right, go on.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to say these stores, and it's not just in America. It's throughout the world where vaping is allowed, and where people are allowed to buy vaping products. It is the people who own and operate these stores. Generally, they're ex-smokers themselves who have got onto vaping, and they want to share that information. They want to share that journey with other people, and slowly but surely they're being recognized as a great source of information and people who can counteract the propaganda that we see, that vaping is bad, vaping was only invented to hook kids and all the other stuff that we've hear ad nauseum. They're the people who can tell you the facts, and we must do everything that we can to preserve this, I think.
Yeah, I think when it's sort of prevalent when it came to, like, in the UK when vape shops were declared non-essential, and you know we reported in the magazine an uptick in smoking rates over here.
Yeah.
So by taking those smaller businesses away, and like Don says, the backbone of the industry away, that leaves this huge vacuum of people who have no choice or have little choice but to revert back to smoking again.
I mean, like, basically, we have vapors. Many vapors vape because it's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they once every Friday they get paid. They go to their vape shop. They get a pack of coils, a bottle of juice, and they're off. You know, and if you take that away, if you make them have to drive 5 miles just to go find a vape shop, that's less convenient. That's going to make them, because they can get a pack of cigarettes at any convenience store or gas station. You know, anywhere. It's a sin. Like, we should have as many vape stores as we have convenience stores. We should have as many vape shops as we have gas stations, literally. Or in every gas station, there should be like a legit vaping section where real liquid, real hardware is sold. We're fortunate. The place where I get gas down the street from my house, they have like a 300 square foot section of their convenience store dedicated to vaping. These guys are like, they're rocking it, you know. They don't carry my stuff because I have an agreement with another local vape shop they have an exclusivity within like a 5 mile range, so I can't sell to these guys. But every time I walk in to buy a lottery ticket or something, I smile because they know that the more convenient that they can make it, the easier that stuff will be to sell. And every time the guy tells me, he's like, brother, he says, can't you just slip me some of your stuff on it? I'm like, no, because if the vape shop finds out, they were like my very first account ever. I don't want to lose them, you know. So it's all like right around my house, you know. But like, talk about education for a second. So I have a dear friend. I've known this girl for 15 years. So I'm down her shore home near Atlantic City, New Jersey, and she has a friend come over who is a friend of hers, but I've never met this woman. And the woman said, well, what do you do for a living, Don? I said, well, I'm an e-liquid maker. She's like, oh, you're in the vaping industry? Oh, that's horrible. That leads to kids smoking. I mean, she went off on this tirade, and an hour later, she knew a lot more about vaping than she did before. And she had a completely different opinion. Once I started quoting her, I pulled up studies. I'm like, here, let me get a link for you on my phone, blah, 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 here, read this, you know? And she was like, wow, there is one huge propaganda machine going on. I'm like, yeah, they want you to think that vaping is bad. It's only about helping teenagers to get on cigarettes. No, there's national studies that the government publishes every quarter that say teen smoking has been on the decline since 2012. Teen smoking is at an all-time low. Teen vaping spiked in 2017, but it's been coming down ever since, you know? So yeah, all right, we had an issue. And that was mostly because of one thing, Juul, you know, they were like crazy. And now Juul can no longer sell flavored pods, you know, so that alone took that spike. And now the kids couldn't find something convenient. Now they're not vaping as much, you know, but yet 21-year-old vapors are at an all-time high. In other words, they turn 21, they go to a vape shop, they buy their stuff, and they remain non-smoking because they know it's healthier. And to educate like one person, like it took me like an hour, and you know how passionate I am, right? So it's like, this lady, she's like she had nothing to say. I was like, no, hon, listen, you gotta understand. I mean, let me tell you like it really is, not how all this stuff, the billboards you see, the propaganda you read in magazines, all of that is like Michael Bloomberg's $106 million a year just to one organization to do nothing but make negative anti-vaping propaganda in this country. That's their sole purpose in life, is just to billboards, commercials, like any way that they can get it out there, they're anti-vaping. So, and it's a machine. I don't have the kind of funding to combat that, to have like billboards and all the different medias that they advertise in. We collectively as an industry don't. So we suffer because of it, and that frustrates the poop out of me. It really does.
That you've made is a valid one. That there's always some truth in humor, that the only people that are actually marketing vaping product to kids are the anti-vaping community, that are using cartoons and the likes to say that vaping is bad. And it is so sad, because if you get this narrative and people believe it, parents believe it, politicians believe it, regulators believe it, and you can't criticize people for believing this if that's the message that they keep getting everywhere. And one of the things that I've seen, and it seems to be a kind of a movement that's growing around the world, is for pro-vaping organizations to organize campaigns where it's a very, very simple message. It is that people who are vaping, just tell your story, your personal story, to your politicians, to the lawmakers, so that counteracts some of the false information. Because if lawmakers and politicians are getting enough stories from ordinary individuals from all walks of life saying, I just want to tell you that vaping really helped me, it's got me off cigarettes and nothing's done that in 30 years, and I'm so happy about it, then they're now going to, hang on a second, maybe I should listen to this side of the argument as well. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything that you can do to help promote that as well, or the industry can do?
Well, this is one thing we can do. We can get on to a forum where lots of people are watching and say, hey, listen, all that crap you're seeing about anti-vaping, hey, listen, here's my phone number, here's my email, contact me, and I'll show you the other side of the coin. Because I mean, I wish that we were all rich enough to be able to nationally support advocacy on a scale where they could actually combat this and have like an anti-vaping thing in a magazine and a pro-vaping facing it. You decide, you decide. The thing is, you can't argue with success. That's the thing. You cannot argue with success. So in the last, all right, this was as of 2019, so it doesn't include COVID or this year. As of 2019, so it's from 2014 to 2019, vaping has helped more people to quit smoking and remain non-smokers than the patch, pills, gum combined in their entire history. All other smoking modalities combined in each modality's entire history, vaping in just 5 years from 2014 to 2019 has helped more people to quit. That should say something. And what's happening is we have these politicians who are in the back pocket of Big Pharma, in the back pocket of Big Tobacco. They're like, no, vaping is bad. No, it's not bad. It's all about, once again, it's all about that almighty dollar, They want to continue to have these companies contribute to their reelection campaigns. So they've got to spout their rhetoric, and it's a sad commentary, Patrick. It's just, it makes me think like, what else can I do other than just get one-on-one with people or get in like a group of people in a group setting like this and say, hey, listen, guys, there is an alternative. I know you're hearing all this stuff, you're hearing it, and it seems like it makes sense, but be curious, be investigative, investigate the other side of the coin. Then if you still think vaping is bad and you've investigated all the other, okay, that's your opinion. I respect that. But if you just see one side of the coin and blindly believe, well, they call that cultism. Anti-vaping cult. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just having fun.
That's okay. Having fun's good.
I think when it comes down to the wire, the vaping industry basically is fighting two fights. It's fighting the smoking epidemic, and it's fighting the propaganda. And with these campaigns, obviously you've mentioned, that are sprouting up on this international scale, the consumer stories and the faces of the industry, those are the fuel for the fight against that propaganda. So it's like more crucial than ever, and we can't emphasize it enough that we have, that people need to start, obviously listening to people like yourself, coming on the platforms like this, and then looking a little bit deeper behind the veil to see sort of the truth behind these sort of this misinformation around vaping.
You guys have it really good over the other side of the pond, brothers. You do. Man, if I lived over there, it'd be a whole lot more fun. I mean, I still do what I do because I love to do what I do. But it just, oh man, some days are just so frustrating. I would love if in the United States, we had a culture that revered vaping the way it is in the UK, in parts of the EU, and like Spain and Germany, France, Greece, emerging in the Middle East, emerging in like New Zealand, where they believe that it really does work. It really does make a difference. Like you have vape shops in hospitals. Oh, I can't believe that. You go to a hospital, you have COPD, and they say, listen, you know what you got to do? You got to stop smoking them stinkies. Here, let's put you in a wheelchair. We're gonna wheel you down to the vape shop, and you're gonna buy your first setup, and that's gonna help your COPD. It might even help you to not even have COPD if you do this for long enough. Like, imagine that. I wish, I really do.
It's a good thing, and we are kind of taking a cautious approach with that. There are a number of trials going on in our health service at the moment where they're doing these things initially on like a small scale. But what is great is that they're getting data, they're examining what's happening, they're looking at how it's working, and they'll be able to present that evidence, and that's a really key word, evidence, rather than the made up stuff that a lot of the things that you hear about vaping, they're just made completely and utterly made up. So we go on evidence, and then we make decisions based on that. It seems like a really sensible thing to do, but so many people just aren't doing it at all.
It seems like a wonderful thing. I mean, I'm definitely going to keep my ear to the ground and kind of see how this all plays out. I can't imagine it not playing out to even leave vaping in a more positive light. I mean, they've tried so many different things. They tried to say that Canthal coils emit vapors that kill people. Okay, if I hold my mod on for 3 minutes, maybe, but that's not what people do. They push the button, they take a 3 to 5 second hit, and they're done. The coil barely even has time to heat the liquid to form the vapor. So yes, maybe if you take it out of context and do something for that long, yeah, okay, maybe, but who does that? That would be the driest hit you've ever taken in your life, and you'd never want to do that ever again in your life. But they've tried all these to say all these things, like the whole, I mean, I'm not going to go through the popcorn lung and blah, 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 blah. The Uvalde scare in the United States a couple of years ago in 2019, it was all a mess. They've tried, but now I think that these studies are going to bear fruit in the fact that people do get to have healthier alternatives. They do. Okay, yeah, it's nicotine replacement therapy, NRP. Or NRT, I'm sorry. But instead of ingesting 3,000 chemicals, 70 of which are carcinogens, all of those give you cancer and die. They kill you. Instead of ingesting that, you're ingesting vegetable glycerin, propylene glycol, natural artificial flavors, and nicotine.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no harmful constituents in that. Oh, speaking of HPHC. So, and I see a question up here. I'm gonna kind of dovetail two things with once here. It says, lovely to see you again, Don. When can we expect to see you over in the UK? Well, plans have changed. Originally, I was expecting to be there in a month, hoisting pints with you guys. Because of the constriction that happened with the PACT Act, I don't have the finances to participate in the Dubai show this year. Nor will I be coming to London. It's just, they're both very expensive shows to get to, hire a contractor to make a booth, be there for the weekend or for a little time before and after, maybe sightsee a little bit. And it's just finances I don't have. That's going to all wind up having to happen maybe next year. Okay, so that's answer to one question. What was I dovetailing into? Goodness gracious, I'm getting too old.
What's the problem when you have to lose the one that you want to go for? We do all the time.
What would
goodness gracious, what were we talking about?
Coming to
so when am I going to be over there? I'd like to be able to visit over there. Maybe we'll see. If finances can make it happen, maybe in the later spring once it starts to warm up. I don't really like going anywhere in Northern Europe when it's cold because, well, I just don't like, it's got to be like 70 degrees, So we'll see. I do definitely want to come over and you guys, y'all's gonna need assistance. You point me to the pub, and do you guys have Uber over there? Because you're going to need it. In terms of next in the cards, though, now I know what I wanted to talk about. The harmful and potentially harmful constituents. That is a lab testing that I did not include in my PMTA report. I included the promise to do it when they required it. And what's happening is that the labs that are able to do that, there's only, I don't know, 35 or 40 of those labs, period, in the entire US. They've figured out that we all need to have this happen like right now. And instead of charging what they charge, they're now charging 10x what they normally charge. Well, because that's what the market will bear. So where previously we had gotten pricing as low as, I don't know, $3,500 a SKU. So hold on a second, I'm gonna get my handy dandy calculator out here.
Okay.
Here we go. So $3,500, and I have 168 SKUs, times 168, that's $588,000 just to get my stuff.
Yeah.
Everything that's in your liquid is fine. Okay. I can't write that check. I really can't. I just can't. It's like I've had people, I've talked to my large volume co-packer and he was quoting a mutual friend of ours who's also a customer of theirs. They were quoted for 68 SKUs, $1.02 million to get through HPHC. So when the FDA starts enforcing that, I will no longer be able to do business, well, legally in the United States anymore. So the plan is I'm in contact with a lab in Ireland and a distributor in London. And if things go well, I mean, those wheels are moving much more slowly than I want. If things go well, sometime this winter, November, December, maybe January of 2022, I will have deals with the lab to make my liquid over there, so to avoid large shipping costs. And then this distributor to distribute it throughout the UK and the EU initially.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, and it'll be short fills in the beginning because that process is much less expensive to get through than actually getting through TPD. I will start bringing 3 or 4 flavors at a time through TPD as finances allow, and eventually the entire line will be available, in the UK, Western Eastern European theater. So that's the plan, but what makes me sad is that, this is going to be the death knell for all but about, I'm going to say 15 companies. So it'll go from 360 to 15. Those are going to be the only, well, maybe 20, maybe 25. So vape shops are going to have, they were going to go from a choice of 13,500 companies liquids to 360 to, let's say, 25. And what's the government going to do next? And of those 25, they're not guaranteed a stamp of approval just because they make it through harmful or potentially harmful constituent testing. That's not a mulligan. The FDA could be like, we don't like we don't like your labels, rejected. We don't like this, rejected. And they can just keep doing that until ad infinitum. And until your stuff is approved after September 9th of this year, like in a month, we're not supposed to be able to remain on the market. So like the next month for me is going to be, you know, pretty critical, like what happens after that. And we're just getting to the point where like they're opening up in-person vape shows. In other words, I went to a show in June up at the Mohegan Sun up in Connecticut. And that show is normally the largest show of the year in the United States industry. So I'm talking like 10,000 people. There are maybe 1,000 people there, but it was encouraging. People came out. They had just started to relax the mask requirements, so I was able to take my mask off and talk to people, smile at them. You know, we did some business, made some friends. It was just nice to get out in the community again. After September, like vape shows, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, because if you're not on the list, if you're not approved, like the FDA could just come in and say, you can't have a booth. You need to go home. You're not on the list. Or worse yet, like the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, those guys don't play around. They show up in flak jackets and big automatic guns. You know, you can go home now. Okay, I'll just wheel my little, you know, and that's sad because like this could literally be somewhat of a death knell for the vaping community in the United States. We'll see. I mean, my hope is that the FDA continues to remain kind of laissez-faire, like nonchalant about enforcement. And like, in other words, they'll get to us when they get to us. And I'll continue to do what I can, however I can do it. As long as the distributors are willing to work with me, I'll work with them. And when I get my first fine, then I'm gonna be like, well, you know, sorry guys, it's been real, it's been fun, but I'm gonna go off to Europe now, you know, and start looking for, you know, for a better place to live that's not in the United States anymore. I see something further down. You don't mind if I do this, right? Like answer a couple questions?
That's
So products in UK stores, let's say maybe by the end of the winter, like by March of next year, products in UK stores. And Don's a salient reason why vaping is frowned upon. That's a tough one. I don't have many reasons why it would be frowned upon that aren't based on falsehood, that aren't based on non-truths. Who is the main leader for misinformation propaganda? Mainstream media. Politicians do it openly because they've got big, huge forums. They've got like hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, so that when they say something, it immediately goes out broad and wide. The media, however, is funded. You have to buy time on the media. You have to buy billboards. You have to buy online advertising. You have to buy like in my local AAA baseball affiliate, the Blue Rocks. I was going to say the Wilmington Blue Rocks. Every 30 feet, as you walk around the concourse, there's this big white sign, 6 feet by 4 feet. Vaping is bad. Like seriously, I'll send you a picture. I'm like, what? Are you serious? Who put these signs up? I want to talk to that person. And of course, Amy's like, no, come on. Like, chill out.
Yeah, I mean, vaping is bad as that is. I mean, I've seen far worse. I've seen my least favorite one, or the most ridiculous one I've seen is that to date, yeah, vaping is like jumping out of a plane without a parachute, which is a ridiculous thing to say.
Oh my God, seriously.
Counter vaping side was?
Oh, fantastic. We had a tweet from World Vapers Alliance, Michael Landell, who said, you know, it'd be more true to say that vaping is as safe as jumping out of a plane with a parachute, because it's at least 95% safer than without. And then, we mentioned just earlier, one of my favorite responses was, if vaping is like jumping out of a plane without a parachute, then smoking is like jumping out with a bag filled with lead that's on fire.
And these are sort of funny examples, obviously, but it shows that we can counteract these things. If you're saying something that's absolutely so stupid, you can counteract it really easily. And I like to think that these people that say these ridiculous things, they will lose credibility, and that's great.
There's just not enough of us. There's just not enough. I mean, I try. I go to a party and I try just to kind of talk about regular stuff, not talk about vaping, not talk about advocacy. But inherently, I will hear somebody saying that vaping is bad, and I'll be like, oh, no, 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 no. And then an hour later, they're like, I didn't realize, you know. But there's not enough of us that are like outgoing enough and friendly enough and knowledgeable about the industry enough to be able to counteract the propaganda machine. And that's what's sad. That's what's the saddest part of the sad. So, you know, if there was more people that were just willing, go out and talk to one person today. Go find one person who thinks vaping is bad and educate them. Go down to your capital of your state and knock on a door and go educate one congressman, one of your US senators, and let them know that vaping saves lives, that flavors save lives, that, you know, there are people in my life that wouldn't be around now had there been smoking, you know, or had there not been vaping. They'd be dead now. They'd have lung cancer, you know. We need to be able to get out and tell people more. That if I can encourage everyone in the vaping community, do that. Become not belligerent. I mean, I'm belligerent. I'm stubborn. I'm like passionate. Like, you don't have to do it like I do. Do it like you do. Go out and just let people know how safe vaping is. That there's 4 ingredients in e-liquid. You know, the coils that they use today are safe. The mods are safe. They talked about batteries blowing up. When's the last time you saw that in the news? You didn't, because batteries got better, mods got better. They can see that coming from further off. People got more educated. They were not doing dumb stuff like putting something that you can push the firing thing, you know, in your pocket and then blowing their shorts up or their leg off, you know. So vaping is safer, it's healthier, it will help you to live a longer life. That's what we need to do. We need to get out and let people know this. So that would be the one thing. Please, guys, everyone who's listening to this, everybody sees the replay, go out and do that today. It's easier than you think.
Yeah, I would agree. And to the politicians and the congressmen and the senators as well, you could even sort of tailor the argument to suit them, in that vaping saves lives, but it could also save your jobs. Because if you realize how big the vaping community is in your own constituency, you want these people to vote for you, because if they don't vote for you, then you may not have it. You may not have a job next time.
Yeah. I have in very, very polite, respectful words knocked on some of my local congressmen's doors and said, hey, listen, there are 170,000 vapers in Delaware, many of which are single issue voters. Do you want 170,000 of us to not vote for you because you're against vaping? You really want that? You know? And like it makes them think, all right, if they won't respond to education, they'll respond to job security, you know? So, and the cool thing is we've actually been able, there's been a couple of people in our local Congress that have been very, very anti-vaping, like serious. Like, I mean, man, this woman would rail. She is completely 180-degree opposite now. She is that passionately for vaping. You know, she finally did the homework. She went to Google Scholar and looked at all the studies, looked at all the UK stuff, the College of Physicians stuff. And she's like, wow, we've got it all wrong. And I was like, yes, how cool is that? You know, so if we could do that, if we could turn a couple more politicians to where there can be like this small but very vocal voice in state legislatures, in Washington, D.C., it'd be amazing how hard it would be for some of these anti-vaping measures to get through, these flavor bans, these crazy taxations. Like if you go to a vape shop in Minnesota, that guy who owns that shop is paying a 98% tax on e-liquid. So if I sell him a bottle of e-liquid at a price, he has to send almost that same price to the state of Minnesota just to be able to sell that. So what kind of markup does he have to have just to be able to make a couple pennies to keep the doors open? Or then you get like I'm not even going to get into Governor Cuomo in New York. In the middle of the night, when no one could do anything about it, he banned flavors last year during pandemic, when nobody was there to go against him. At New Jersey, same thing. Massachusetts, same thing. Like there's 8 states now that you can't get flavors in. Are there vapors in those states? Yep. Are they still getting e-liquid by other means? Yep, I'm maybe part of that gravy train. But the idea is like, do they expect me to not support people that have been supporting me for 5 years? My company I just celebrated 5 years on July 31st. Do you expect me to just give up on them? No, no, I don't care. So they're gonna blame Brown Box for the handwritten label. Okay, catch me now. You know, I mean, seriously, guys. You know, all right. We got a cool question here. I'm sorry. I saw in the latest Vape Round issue that you'll be adopting this digital nomad lifestyle when you stretch out your post-COVID legs. Can we hear a little bit more about this? Okay. So here's the thing. Amy and I don't know, sometime in the next 12 to 18 months are going to buy a one-way ticket, and we will no longer, well, we'll probably have one small permanent residency in the United States, just when we do come back for like December and birthdays, and a place to call home, like a place to call like headquarters, and we will go gallivanting. We'll be a month in the UK, a month in the Netherlands, a month in Germany, a month in Greece, a month in the United Arab Emirates, a month in the Maldives, a month or two in like Thailand, Vietnam, Southeast Asia area, and we're just going to do that, well, forever. It's called being a digital nomad. If I can get an internet connection, my laptop and my phone, I can run my company from anywhere. I mean, I do it from a home office, but I can take this anywhere I want. And I've been on vacation for probably half the weeks of the summer so far, and business is still going, because very rarely do I have to show up someplace in person to fix a problem or to fix an issue. I mean, most of the in-person stuff I'm doing is like visiting vape shops. Hey, do you carry my stuff yet? Why not? Well, here, try a sample. We're just getting to the point where we can do that again. Sadly, Canada, man, those guys are so progressive. They are doing a national flavor ban. National. I launched there last year, and now it's like, unless you have a tobacco or a menthol flavored e-liquid, you can't sell in Canada anymore. I don't know if it's gone all the way through yet, but it's being matriculated through. Like the government has got this heavy push on that. They went from being very amenable to vaping to like really anti-vaping. I'm like, who drank the Kool-Aid? So anyway, I won't be going to Canada. So that's what we're going to be doing. Next one is what's next on the cards? Well, I've kind of talked about that. Next on the cards is let's go invade the UK and EU and spread east from there. There's another one that says, how's Amy? Amy's doing great. Amy is doing wonderful. She besides being my chief operating officer, she is also a lifestyle workplace coach. She helps people to find out why they're here. In other words, if you can figure out why you're actually on the earth, it'll help you to maybe get a job that dovetails into why you're here. And they have, her and two partners have a really cool program. They're launching an app, and it's really fun. I get to see her talk to people when they do individual coaching, and I hear the light go on. Like, you mean I don't have to be in this boring, sucky job anymore? I can do this, maybe make a little bit less money at it, but have a lot more fun. So that's what she does, probably 20 or 30 hours a week. And then it doesn't take much to help me do the day-to-day stuff here, especially in light of the fact of, we're not really filling a lot of orders from the office anymore. Mm-hmm. It says, how's business been during the pandemic? Slow. Well, it's always slow in the summer, and I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just that the people are buying, they're down the shore more, they're doing vacation more, so they're buying e-liquid from shops that don't carry my stuff. So, I know the cure for that would be to get into more shops, but, oh well, we'll see what happens after next month. It says, does Don believe that unregulated mods at the beginning of the vaping industry did no good? Here's the thing. Back when we had like cloud comps and people were blowing like 8-foot clouds from unregulated mods, that was like the competition part of vaping. So yeah, do I have a tube mod? Here's something old school. This is an original Stingray. Can I make my, yeah,
No,
Okay.
it-
And I've got an OG RTA on top, or RDA on top of that. Do I vape it anymore? Nope. It just sits on my desk. What I vape, is something like this. Fits in my pocket, takes a replaceable coil, and it makes my juice taste okay enough. I think in the beginning, people thought that they had to have one of those tube mods in order to be a vapor. And as they found out, as they figured out that they could have something, something like a mod with a tank on top of it, that they could, that would be like their normal day-to-day stuff. In the beginning, I'm talking about 2014, 2015, it was kind of a perception. Now, especially since pod mods and Saltnik have taken popularity, that's no longer a thing. That's, you've got people, when they quit smoking, I can start them out on like, 24 milligram Saltnik, and then quickly, get them down to like 6 milligram Saltnik, and then 6 milligram regular Nick, 3 milligram, 1.5, 0, and then I lose them as a customer, So the idea being that if it was 2015 and we were having this conversation, I'd be like, yeah, these guys are like, the big biker dudes all tatted up, blowing big clouds. They're giving the average, 50-year-old person who's quitting smoking because they smoked for 35 years, the wrong impression. Well, that now has kind of, that whole has fallen kind of by the wayside, and people are seeing that like, all I need to go out and do is spend, 40 or 50 bucks on one of these, and, get a bottle of this, and they're good to go, and then they just show up and get coils and get new juice, and they can remain non-smokers and live better lifestyles. So yeah, I think that in 2021, I think we have a lot more tools now than we had in like say 2014 or 2015, and we have a much more I would like to think a more educated consumer, like in other words, that they've checked out, they've seen the propaganda, they've checked out the other side. They're like, oh, you mean my lungs actually get pink again? I get my second breath. I can go out and I can work out. I can walk. I can swim. I can do all those things I used to do before I smoked. Oh, sign me up. So you're getting much more of that kind of a person who's quitting smoking now, or at least in my own sphere of influence. So.
True. Sadly for us, for this particular session, we have run out of time. But the thing is that we've covered a lot of ground here. And as an industry, as consumers, we can all get together, tell our stories, keep spreading the message, keep counteracting news.
Yes, please, guys. Please keep educating your fellow person, especially that person who comes out and says vaping is bad. Gently ask them, why do you believe that? Mm-hmm. And then let it spark a conversation. It doesn't have to be antagonistic. It doesn't have to be, with mean words. It can be a gentle, educating conversation. And once you make the light go on in their eyes, then they'll tell some friends, and they'll tell some friends, and they'll tell some friends. And from grassroots, from the ground up, we'll counteract this propaganda machine.
Absolutely. And I know you have to go now and buy some warm clothes for Europe, because we don't have many 90 degrees. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
I'm coming, guys. I'm going to warn you. I'm coming. You're going to have to, guys, it's been real and it's been fun as always. I look forward to doing this again sometime.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right, see you now.
Bye.